So these two actors that played Romeo and Juliet in the iconic, as you guys know, 1968 film Romeo and Juliet, I think we've all seen, are suing Paramount Pictures now. Maybe you guys heard about this over one controversial scene, which I think we all remember since they're suing them over it. The actors were 15 and 16 at the time that they played these two children, again, teenagers in the film, and they're suing for a combined $500 million because there were nude scenes, bro. Nude scenes. Here's some details. The suit alleges that director Franco Zeffirelli, who died in 2019, assured both actors that there would be no nudity in the film, and they would wear flesh-colored undergarments in the bedroom scene. But in the final days of filming, the director allegedly implored them to perform in the nude with body makeup, or the picture would fail, is what he said. Olivia Hussey was 15 at the time, and Leonard Whiting was 16. And according to their complaint, Zeffirelli showed them where the camera would be positioned and assured them that no nudity would be photographed or released in the film. The suit alleges that he was being dishonest and that Whiting and Hussey were in fact filmed nude without their knowledge, and of course, then put into the film, as also wasn't said. They've said, these two actors said they've suffered mental anguish and emotional distress since the film's release, again from the late 60s, 1968. They also said they lost out on job opportunities and were limited because of their roles in the film. I guess people only remember them from that. But they were only open, by the way, this is this one particular rule that why they're doing it right now. It was right at the end of the year before we jumped into 2023, because they were allowed to open the suit in a small window of time because of this recent law. The lawsuit relies on a part in a California law that temporarily suspended the statute of limitations for older claims of child sexual abuse. The court saw an influx of complaints against the Boy Scouts of America and the Catholic Church, among other organizations, in the days leading up to that, of course, New Year's Eve deadline. But this still, though, as this seems pretty obvious in my mind, some people are still a little dubious about it because of how long it's been, and also the fact that these things hadn't been brought up before, I assume is what they're thinking. So in 2018, in a Variety interview, Hussey then said this as part of their complaints. She said, nobody my age had done that before, adding that Zeffirelli shot it tastefully. She said it was needed for the film. Sounds like what he said. In another 2018 interview with Fox News, she said that the scene was taboo in America, but that nudity was already common in European films at the time, and said it wasn't that big of a deal, and Leonard wasn't shy at all. In the middle of shooting, I just completely forgot I didn't have clothes on. That sounds like folks who were trying to cope with and live with the things that maybe they regret. I'm willing to believe victims, whether or not they did or didn't feel so much emotional stress and pain from it as is being said in these lawsuits. They were still filmed nude. They were still told that they wouldn't be filmed nude before they were filmed nude as teenagers. I don't care whether or not you believe they're really emotionally distraught over it. It really happened. Your thoughts, Ben?
Yeah, I think it's not insignificant the fact that the director died in 2019. Was that right? Because look, this is a big problem in Hollywood. It's obviously a big problem in capitalism in general, because obviously wealth is typically generational and there's a lot of nepotism involved, which means that if you want your career to succeed, there are people who just literally have power over you that are going to have a group of friends that also have power to sort of dictate your career. But this is especially true in places like Hollywood, where there's just a few major production companies that are actually churning out the biggest films. Where an influential director can have a huge role in terms of determining whether or not your future career works. We've seen this play out in a ton of different industries, and especially in the film industry. And so no, it's not surprising that this is happening now. And fundamentally, it just speaks to this ongoing problem of people within these positions of power abusing their power, and literally not only forcing people into situations that are obviously sexually inappropriate, especially in this case with literal children, right? But then also sort of managing them and following up with them after the fact to sort of influence and push them to say positive things about their experience and stuff like that. And it's just deeply infuriating.
It's standard at that point.